Glory to the Most High God, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Makakwadash. Double honors to the apostles, elders, and bishops at Great Millstone for teaching me the truth. The brother Rabbi Knapp coming out with a lesson, Lord's will, edifying to the Lord's elect. It says, I'm going in the Google News. It says, our military safe plan to fire munitions over the intense fire went off the rails with CHP cruiser hit. I don't know what this is talking about. Oh, can't go into it, whatever that means. Australian Prime Minister Albanese visits White House as U.S. reviews AUKUS agreement. What the hell is that? What's the AUKUS agreement? Summary, the President Donald Duck and Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese signed a deal on critical minerals and rare earths. Okay. Gaza, deadly Gaza flare-up test Israel-Hamas ceasefire. Oh, I thought it was peace over there in the Middle East. Okay, even when they were writing the paperwork or whatever, signing whatever the hell they were signing, they were killing each other the same day, the same exact day. And we told you that there's no peace for the wicked ultimately, man. No peace for the wicked. All right, there ain't gonna be no peace over there in the Middle East, man. Ain't no such thing as that. Okay, it says 1 week ago, President Duck was given a hero's welcome in Israel. How you doing today, sir? All right. 1 week, President Duck was given a hero's welcome in Israel after securing the Gaza ceasefire in exchange of Israeli hostages for Palestinian prisoners. As a matter of fact, I heard the Houthis went and took some UN people out of Yemen. So now they got more hostages. A different group, different area, but the same thing. Now they can use you as collateral over there in Yemen. Okay, but the days since have shown just how precarious the ceasefire is. The Sunday brought its biggest test so far. The Israeli Defense Forces launched a series of deadly strikes across Gaza after 2 soldiers were killed in the southern city of Rafah in an attack it blamed on Hamas. Hamas said it was not responsible because it had not had contact with fighters in the area since communications were cut off in March. So it hasn't had contact supposedly. So everyone, you know, it's easy to kick it off, man, tell people there's peace and safety, and then go kill somebody and say it was their fault. Okay, the scriptures call him the accuser of our brethren. So he accused us of doing a lot of things that we didn't do. Okay, like he accuses us today. As a matter of fact, you look at his jail system, his jail system has a bunch of people that were wrongfully convicted. Okay, that's why the president normally has you can set up you ask for a pardon and he'll write it off. Just like the New York Five that supposedly were arrested for raping some white woman or something like that. And what did they do? They Donald Duck asked for the execution of those people, and they weren't even haven't gone through due process. So this is the type of person, he'll cast a judgment on you and not even go through the proper channels for justice. He don't care about justice. That's a wicked thing to do. Okay, and that's now we can see why the Lord set up somebody like that. Okay, that's gonna do something like that, because the majority of people don't have the capability of just being cruel. Okay, cruel and unusual punishment. That's what the Draconian laws are going into in Revelation the 13th chapter. I should have brought my Bible. Well, I'm gonna have to get it off my phone. I hate using my phone. That's not unfact. No, I'm gonna keep using it. I'm gonna keep using my phone. You know, that's what they call it, cruel and unusual. Matter of fact, let's look that up. What does cruel and unusual mean? Cruel and unusual refers to a punishment that is excessively harsh, grossly disproportionate to the crime, or inhumane by contemporary standards as prohibited by the Eighth Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, which constitutes cruel and unusual punishment, is not fixed and has evolved over time based on evolving standards of decency, which includes things like torture, excessive sentencing, inhumane methods of execution, and degrading prison conditions. And that's why the scriptures called dukkha, that cruel Lord. I look at that word Lord goes into being a king, that cruel king, and he's fierce to tell you. Okay, and that definitely points towards the duck, who's gonna have cruel and unusual punishments for you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. Like he's doing now, he's putting you on ships, on planes, cargo ships, and shipping you over the eastern parts of Africa. Okay, that's cruel and unusual. Here it is. You're not even from that country, and he's sending you over there. He's sending you over to Ecuador or El Salvador, and what's his name? I forgot the guy's name, but he was one of the first that the ICE agents grabbed up. They sent them over there. They said that they were torturing them over there. And who sent them over there? Did he get on a plane and go over there by himself, or did somebody send him over there? Okay, and now he's on a duck. Duck sent him over there. And then you brought him back over here, and then he sent him to the eastern parts of Africa. Then he opened up a prison called Alligator Alcatraz. And who he set up in there? He set the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans over there. Okay? And then he was setting up different ICE agents to come around to these communities and gather youth. And of all the things that's going on in the world, you still want to gather youth. Why do you think that's the cause? Why would he be doing that? Especially if you got beef with all these people. I mean, you got hostages. You so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans ain't taking any hostages, are you? He's blaming you for human trafficking. How the hell you think the so-called Negroes came here in 1619? What do you call that? A vacation? He human trafficked you over here and you're still in his hands. Okay? That was a huge network of human trafficking. Okay? That we had to endure. And we're still here. We're still kidnapped. Okay? And you don't hear your voice is on deaf ears, man. Okay? So that's what he does, man. He always been person to take and steal a man. Let me grab that. I want to read this real quick. It says cruel and unusual punishments and the Bill of Rights. Cruel and unusual punishments is a concept rooted in the Eighth Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, which prohibits excessively harsh penalties and inhumane conditions of incarceration, tracing its origins to the English Bill of Rights of 1688. And we came here in 1619. This provision aims to ensure that punishments remain consistent with evolving standards of decency in society. He's not decent and he can't run a society, so his laws, he's always switching them up. That's why the scriptures call it unrighteous decrees. The interpretation of what constitutes cruel and unusual has been a complex and often contentious issue for the Supreme Court, leading to a patchwork of rulings over the years. Patchwork. Oh, no, we can't do that anymore. Used to want to put you, the execution chair was a problem. They said that was cruel and unusual because some people survived it. Have half of their brain cooked. Okay? They said hanging was cruel and unusual because sometimes you would have to pull on the man's legs to break his neck so he could die. Okay? So then they went to lethal injection. And then they saying that's cruel and unusual. You know, and he just put somebody to death. I never did a video on it. And he used a different type of chemical. And the people who saw the execution said it was grievous to see. Okay? And who implemented that? Who started out was a good idea to do that? Esau Edom. Okay? So I wouldn't be surprised if he uses these different situations and bring back the death penalty by guillotine. And say that's the most profane, decent way to go. And now a lot of y'all might agree with that or disagree, but it talks about in Revelation the 20th chapter how people were going to get beheaded for this truth. Revelation 20:1, and I saw an angel come down from heaven having the key of the bottomless pit and a great chain in his hand. So the bottomless pit is Europe. It's a bottomless pit because it lacks resources. That's why they got to go out throughout the whole world and rob and steal and kill. Okay, that's a perfect land for him. Ultimately, it's because of the curse in Europe. The curse of Cain. As a matter of fact, let me grab that real quick. Since I called it the curse of Europe. Genesis 4, in verse, I'll start at 9. I'll start at the top. Then Adam knew Eve, his wife, and she conceived and bare Cain, and said, I have gotten a man from the Lord, Yahweh. Let me just look at his name, Cain. Cain means a possession. Okay. It says possession. All right. Genesis 4:2, and she again bare his brother Abel. You look at this word Abel. Word Abel means breath. And Abel was a keeper of sheep, but Cain was a tiller of the ground. And in process of time, it came to pass that Cain brought of the fruit of the ground an offering unto the Lord. He brought of the fruit of the ground an offering unto the Lord. And Abel, he also brought of the firstlings of his flock and of the fat thereof. And the Lord had respect unto Abel and to his offering. Now this is before the Levitical law. This is before the Levitical law, but when the Lord gave Moses the law, clearly Cain knew that he had to bring a sacrifice to the Lord. So he knew about sacrifices, but he decided to bring forth fruit. Okay, Leviticus 1:1, and the Lord called unto Moses and spake unto him out of the tabernacle of the congregation, saying, speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, if any man of you bring an offering unto the Lord, he shall bring your offering of the cattle, even of the herd and of the flock. If his offering be a burnt sacrifice of the herd, let him offer a male without blemish. He shall offer it on his own voluntary will at the door of the tabernacle of the congregation before the Lord. He shall put his hand upon the head of the burnt offering, and it shall be accepted for him to make atonement for him. Okay, so of the cattle is said, even of the herd and of the flock. And if you were poor, he will allow you to bring a turtle dove, okay, which is sort of like a pigeon, not a turtle, okay? They would sacrifice that. That's if you were poor. So he had a, you were able to make sacrifices even if you were poor. All right. There's also a grain offering. Okay, Leviticus 2:1. And when any will offer a meat offering unto the Lord, his offering shall be of fine flour, and he shall pour oil upon it, and put frankincense thereon, and he shall bring it to Aaron's sons, the priests, and he shall take thereof his handful of the flour thereof, and of the oil thereof, with all the frankincense thereof, shall burn the memorial of it upon the altar, to be an offering made by fire of a sweet savor unto the Lord. Now you gotta think, this is Adam and Eve's offspring. They're kids, man. Okay, so they taught, Adam would have taught how to do this properly. Okay, so that also goes to show you he's just disobedient. He's disobedient. All right, Genesis chapter 4 and verse 5 and 4. And Abel, he also brought of the firstlings of the flock and of the fat thereof, and the Lord had respect unto Abel and to his offering. For unto Cain And to his offering he had not respect, and Cain was very wroth, and his countenance fell. Okay, so this is the beginning. Actually, it ain't really the beginning. Close to the beginning. He was cursed in Genesis, the 3rd chapter, being the serpent. This is the same spirit that was in the serpent. It's in this vessel named Cain. Okay, Genesis 4, verse 6. And the Lord Yahweh said unto Cain, why art thou wroth, and why is thy countenance fallen? Your countenance goes into your how you look. Okay, let's look at these words real quick. So, you know, it tells you in Ecclesiastes 8:1, wisdom causes that face to shine. So that's the same thing, man. You can see that someone knows something, or just on the outward look of it, you know, that he knows something. Okay, let me look at this word countenance, though. Countenance. A person's face or facial expression. Okay, his facial expression fell. He was wroth, man. He was very wroth when the Lord didn't accept him. And look at him now. He's very wroth today. He's the madman. He goes around killing people, stealing shit. Because the Lord ain't dealing with him. He is, but he isn't. He's allowing him to do the things that he's doing, but in the end of it all, he's going to kill his ass. Genesis 4, verse 6, and the Lord Yahweh said unto Cain, why art thou wroth, and why is thy countenance fallen? If thou doest well, shalt thou not be accepted, and if thou doest not well, sin lieth at the door. Okay, sin lieth at your door, Esau. Because you're not doing well, man. Okay? Just like Yahweh Shai tells you in Revelation, the 3rd chapter, I stand at the door and knock. Let me grab that. Same temptation that Cain had to face. Revelation 3, verse 20, behold, I stand at the door and knock. If any man hear my voice and open the door, I will come into him and will sup with him, and he with me. So the same way Yahweh Shai standing at the door knocking, okay, is the same way that sin is, or the spiritual demon Satan, okay? He's the one that's standing at Esau's door, and he answers it every single time, okay? He's accepting the call of the spiritual demon Satan, okay? And the elect, the righteous, we're accepting the call of Yahweh Shai. Okay, with this wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, so we can move according to his will. He's moving according to the will of the Lord on the left-hand side, okay, through the spiritual demon Satan. All right? Genesis chapter 4, and verse number 7 again. If thou doest well, thou shalt not be accepted. You like it? If thou doest well, thou shalt not be accepted. If thou doest well, shall thou not be accepted. So this is what the Lord is saying to Cain. And if thou doest not well, sin lieth at the door. And unto thee shall be his desire, and thou shalt rule over him. Okay? Let me grab this in the NLT. Genesis 4 and 7. You will be accepted if you do what is right, but if you refuse to do what is right, then watch out. Sin is crouching at the door, eager to control you, but you must subdue it and be its master. So pretty much, you gotta resist sin unto death. Okay? Like it says in the book of Hebrews, chapter 12, in verse 4. After all, you have not yet given your lives in your struggle against sin. That's what it says in the NLT. Let's go back to the KJV. Hebrews 12 and 4 in the KJV. Ye have not yet resisted unto blood, striving against sin. And that's what we're supposed to be doing. Okay, that's our purpose down here on the earth. To strive against sin. That's the good fight of faith, enduring into the end, preserving the doctrine of Yahweh by Shem Yahushua. That's what we're supposed to be doing down here. And if you got to give your life up for the truth, that's what you're down here for to do. Like Esau's down here to tell lies and propaganda and make people act out of order, and make people act contrary to the Lord. We're supposed to do the opposite. Make Israel come back to the Lord. And eventually the Lord is going to have a heathen that come back, but that's for a different time. That's in the kingdom. Genesis 4 and 8. And Cain talked with Abel his brother, and it came to pass when they were in the field that Cain rose up against Abel his brother and slew him. Slew means to slay, kill. Okay? Now it doesn't describe how Cain slew Abel, but you know, through the Spirit, I believe, speaking as a man, he stabbed him in the back. Because that's what the type of characteristics I see in an Edomite, a backstabber. Smile in your face and stab you in the back. As a matter of fact, the reason I was looking up his name, the Cain, let me look into his name again. Let's go into the root word. Let's go root word etymology. It says spear. Spear. Okay. It says possession, but when you look into the etymology, it says a spear. Hence, why I believe that. The Lord didn't even tell you how he did it. Probably rocked Abel to sleep. Hey, Cain, look at that over there. And poked him in his back. Okay, and this is his brother. This is the oldest brother. Hence the same story that played out with Jacob and Esau. He first came out red all over like a hairy garment, and they called his name Esau. Okay? But now, Jacob, through the Spirit, knows, you know, the elect, they understand that this nigga's the devil. So they're not gonna fall for the okie doke. As a matter of fact, in Genesis 32, I believe, when Jacob was going to meet up with Esau again, Esau said, come back with me to Edom. He was like, no, you know. He basically said, you go there first, and I'll meet you over there. Okay? You go there first, and I'll meet you over there. You don't trust that nigga no more, man. That's what he is. He's a nigga. The so-called white man is a nigga, man. That's the manifestation of what a nigga is. He's ignorant of the Lord. Okay? He robs, he steals, he kills. He takes what's not his. All the stereotypes that a nigga would do. He sells drugs. He catches licks. His music is wicked. You know, that's an Edomite. That's why they love that rap shit so much. More than the average Jake. They love it way more than you. They'll go buy the album, get the t-shirt. They'll go share it online, how great of an album, get in comments. That's why Young Thug came out with an album looking like a damn Edomite with bleached skin. Okay? Genesis chapter 4 and verse 9. And the Lord Yahweh said unto Cain, where is Abel thy brother? And he said, I know not, am I my brother's keeper? Typically, if you're the older brother, you got to take care of your younger brother, man. You know? You're supposed to watch over and make sure he ain't going off. So that's the role of the firstborn, man. You like the keeper of the house. When the father's not there, you the next in charge. And you got to maintain order. Okay, but this is the devil we're talking about. This is Esau. All right? This is Esau. Am I my brother's keeper? He talks all this God loves everybody bullshit. Get the fuck out of here. He damn sure don't love your ass, and he's going to manifest that in these last days when he kills your ass. He puts your ass in place. Genesis chapter 4, verse 10, and he said, what hast thou done? The voice of thy brother's blood crieth unto me to the ground. Yeah, the voice of thy brother's blood crieth unto me to the ground. So he was slain, but yet he's still speaking. Okay? So it is, that also goes to show you that there's life after death. That's if you believe the Bible. So imagine all the people he's slain. Okay? All the blood that's speaking up against this devil. Okay? Not just Abel. You got to pay for that. You got to pay for all the righteous blood he slayed, he slew. In his different conquests of the world. He knew what he was doing. Genesis 4 and verse 11, and now art thou cursed from the earth, which have opened her mouth to receive thy brother's blood from thy hand. So you're cursed, Esau. Esau is cursed. Cursed from the earth. Going back to Revelation 20 and 1, calling it the bottomless pit. I took the long way. Okay? The bottomless pit ultimately because Esau is cursed. He's cursed from the earth. Alright? Genesis 4 and number cursed from the earth. Which have opened the mouth to receive thy brother's blood from thy hand. Genesis 4 and 12. When thou tillest the ground, it shall not henceforth yield unto thee her strength. So Europe's not, the land is not yielding forth, yield to the so-called white man Esau, because he's cursed. Okay? That's why he cut down all the trees. He's cursed, man. And then he goes out and robs and steals from everybody else just so he can sustain himself. Alright? Sure it wasn't like that in the medieval times. Just like America wasn't like this before the so-called white man came over here. You don't see any boots on the trees, nothing. But he's over here. He's playing his curse too. Genesis 4, that's why he uses artificial means of production. GMO. That's what Esau is. He's GMO. He's not the real thing, man. But his doctrine, him claiming he's an ish. He's sort of like, he wish he was, but he's not. He's GMO. He's fake. He's phony. He's not real. Alright? Not the real deal. We're the real deal. Us so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, they don't get no realer than that. We're directly connected to the Most High God through His Son, Yahweh God. He's not. This is what I'm trying to tell you. Genesis chapter 4 and verse 12. When thou tillest the ground, and this is his job. It tells you he was a tiller of the ground. Okay? It says, it shall not henceforth yield unto thee her strength. So, you're going to till the ground, sow seed, and it's not going to do anything. Okay? A fugitive and a vagabond shall thou be in the earth. And that's what he is. He's a fugitive. He's trying to escape the Lord's judgment any way that he can, and he can't. He's prophesied it to happen. That's Joshua. Wasted away his heat. You're going to be wasted. Okay? You're going to be destroyed. No waste of seed. That's what your father called you. Alright? Genesis chapter 4. And a vagabond shall thou be in the earth. Look at this word vagabond. This describes the so-called white man to a T. To move to and fro, wander. That's what you do. He's everywhere but Edom. He's in everybody else's land but his own, telling them what to do. Ultimately, because he got the blessing in Genesis the 25th chapter, his father, or 27th chapter, his father gave him a sword, which was Isaac, which is the Lord giving him a sword, and he's going to come back and take it away from him. Genesis 4 with the sword. He's going to destroy him with the sword. Genesis 4:13, and Cain said unto the Lord Yahweh, my punishment is greater than I can bear. So Cain died, so why would his punishment be greater than he can bear? If you only live once. Behold, thou hast driven me out this day from the face of the earth, and from thy face shall I be hid, and I shall be a fugitive and a vagabond in the earth. And it shall come to pass that everyone that findeth me shall slay me. Right. And that's going to come to pass. Everyone that findeth me shall slay me. For being the wicked. As a matter of fact, Andrew Tate was talking about this on his X account. How the wicked are committing all this wickedness publicly. So everyone, it makes people, you have to join with them pretty much. The way he explained it in a way, he was saying it generates love over here because they look at all of you Americans the same way. Because you're voting for these people. They see how you going around with signs, how you love them so much and shit like that. They saw all of that. You know? How great he is and how he's your leader, how great of a job he's doing. They see all of that. And they think, hold on, isn't he on the Epstein's list? Isn't he doing this, that, and the third? Didn't the dude who died, wife have some type of ministry in some country and kids were missing? And he's running around making that a national holiday, running around with the wife that did that. So they don't look at it the way y'all look at it. You're in support of all of these organizations. That's how they look at it. That's why they're protesting about this thing. Okay? Genesis chapter 4 and verse 14, behold, thou hast driven me out this day from the face of the earth, and from thy face shall I be hid. Okay, from thy face shall I be hid. That's why he can never come into the knowledge of the truth. Esau's a reprobate. He don't believe in God. These churches, they don't believe in God. His name's not God. Okay, so they have their own form of religion that's false. Okay, if they knew the Lord would have told them his name. They don't know the Lord. Even if you told them the name, it's dreadful among the heathen. It ain't for them. Even the small hat calls them the name. Heathen. Okay? So, certain people, they're not going to accept it. If you can't accept the name, you're a heathen too. 2/3 of y'all are heathen. Okay? You're a Gentile in the mind. We're Gentiles too, but we came out of that stupid shit. Those falsehoods, because the Lord gave us a gift. Okay? And we accepted the call to go serve him. Okay, that's why we do what we do. Genesis chapter 4 and verse 14, and I shall be a fugitive and a vagabond in the earth, and it shall come to pass that everyone that findeth me shall slay me. And the Lord said unto him, therefore, whosoever slayeth Cain, vengeance shall be taken on him sevenfold. And the Lord set a mark upon Cain, lest any finding him should kill him. Yeah, the whole nation would have been put his ass to death, man. Well, it's up to us. We've been put Esau and Edom ass to death, man. Publicly. How you doing, brother? You have a blessed day. You know? And, but the Lord is protecting us. And that's why he has the military capability that he has to come up against the different nations. That's why Nicolas Maduro don't want war with the beast. Because he can't make war with them. That's why he's trying to cop out. He don't want no smoke with the beast, man. Okay? He's shooting them out the sky. He's sitting on his ass somewhere in California shooting somebody down in Venezuela. Sitting in an office building doing drone strikes in his country. How can you go to war with something like that? You can't. So that's the Lord giving him the capability to do that. Okay? Vengeance shall be taken on him sevenfold. That's why when you kill a so-called white man, you get smoked. You get executed. They find you quickly. But when it comes to, just like that black woman that died in Philadelphia, she was going to Penn State. They found a body in some abandoned school building. It says her remains. So it didn't really get too graphic. But they blame it on a Jake with dreads. So the point of the matter is, they don't know if that's the killer, but majority, there's so many unsolved murders when it comes to these so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. They can't find the killer, but you kill a Edomite, they're gonna find you. Unless they do it themselves, then that's case closed. They can't find him. They can't find him. It's always a conspiracy. It's so much shit. You don't know what to believe when an Edomite dies. A prominent Edomite, you don't know what to believe, man. Genesis 4 in verse 14, and it shall come to pass that everyone that findeth me shall slay me. And that's going to come to pass. You're going to be as the chase road. That no man taketh up. What's that? Isaiah 13 and 14. And it shall be as the chase road, and as a sheep that no man taketh up, they shall every man turn to his own people and flee everyone to his own land. So it's going to be like the chase road that no man taketh up. Meaning, it's going to be like roadkill. Okay? It's going to be like roadkill. No one's going to scrape you up off the ground, bury you. It's also talking about ESAU. You're going to be at the chase road. They're going to kill your ass, man. You're going to start with these laborers, though. And you don't want to pay, you're going to start with them. Job chapter 20, verse 22. In the fullness of his sufficiency, he shall be in straits. Every hand of the wicked shall come upon him. But every hand of the wicked, which are your laborers, people who work for you, Esau, that's the wicked. They're going to come after you, man. They're going to come after you. And now we're going on, I don't know, how many days in this government shutdown? How many days are we in the government shutdown? Government shutdown live updates. Live updates. Ongoing government shutdown marks third longest in U.S. history. I don't know, is he going to break the record? Because as long as the government shut down, more things are going to be closed. More money's not going to go into certain areas that you expect. See, a lot of you believe that it's just like it was before. This happened years before. This happened before. And they came to an agreement and everything's going to be fine again. When you're watching women saying that their EBT and their staff benefits are going to be affected. Of course it is. You didn't know that? You didn't know that the Lord told you that? Of course it would be. You think he was just going to allow you to be wicked all this time? Disrespect your man, raise up demon-ass kids? Monsters, he calls them? And then nothing was going to happen? No, he said you're going to lament for the teats. See, that's what they're starting to do, but it's going to really manifest itself. I was watching Daniel, which is an anti-thing. Woman said that if they turn off her EBT, she's going to go into Walmart and she's going to shop like she normally shops. And if her card is declined, she's going to be walking out with her carriage. And if they come, she's going to bring her cousin with her. And he can fight, and he's going to do this, that, and the third. You think they're going to allow you to just walk in there and leave with your cart? They expect you women to do that. That's why they're going to have security. They're going to put things in cages. You're going to need an MOTB device to get food that you covet so much. That's why a majority of you women, you're going to take the device. Because you like to be comfortable. You're going to take the device quick. Oh, I got kids to feed, I got this, that, and you're going to be destroyed. You're going to die in that time. All right? So you can hold on to that. It doesn't tell me how many days, but it's saying it's the third longest. Job 20 and 22, a male, laborer, sufferer, wretched one, workman. Workman. That's who's gonna, every hand gonna come upon you. And they're starting to do that now. That's why they protest. People losing their jobs. Once he starts making the military the police, that's gonna be a funny area, man. What are you going to do with the police that are already police? What are they going to do? He does the Insurrection Act, then what? If he's taking your role, what's your role after that? These things you got to think about, man. Are you willing to uphold the Constitution like the oath that you made? Or are you going to join the oppressor? What are you going to do? The tyrant. You're going to become a tyrant? What are you going to do? These are things that are going to come to pass. Okay? It's the book of James, chapter 5, and verse number 4. Behold, the hire of the laborers who have reaped down your fields, which is of you kept reap. James 5 and 4, behold, the hire of the laborers who have reaped down your field, which is of you kept back by fraud, crieth, and the cries of them which have reaped are entered into the ears of the Lord, the Sabaoth. And so the laborers are crying. They're not being paid. That's wickedness. You catch a flight now, just know the people who are directing your flight, they're not getting paid. That's a government job. Okay? It's a government job. You read it. James 5 verse 4, meaning. Says this verse is part of James' rebuke against the rich who oppress the poor, especially those who grow wealthy by injustice. And that's what the duck is doing. Okay. Hire, the wages or payment due to workers. Greek mythos, wages, recompense, reward, laborers, those who toiled in the fields to harvest crops. You know, like the so-called Mexican man toiled in the fields to harvest crops. He's locking them up. You think they got paid that day they got put in the ice? You think they got paid? And shipped across the border? I wonder if they got paid that day. refers to workers, mostly the poor. The poor in the Bible is talking about you Israelites who labored for the wealthy. The wealthy, just like the rich man and Lazarus, the rich man represents the Edomites. Scripture says there's a great gulf of fish. You got 500 plus years of slavery over us. Look how low you are. You about to be as low as we. Okay? That's why it's all right for you to get down to this. You don't hear, we're not even, a lot of Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans ain't even going out with y'all in these no king protests. The reprobate ones are the ones who think they're Edomites. But the majority of the poor who actually are poor, they ain't going to these protests. Because they're not afflicted like that. They're not afflicted like that. But eventually they will be. All right? It says, this refers to workers, mostly the poor, who labored for the wealthy landowners but were not paid what they earned. Okay? That's wicked not to get paid what you earn. Leviticus 19:13, thou shalt not defraud thy neighbor, neither rob him. The wages of him that is hired shall not abide with thee all night until the morning. Okay? You're supposed to pay the workers at the end of the day. That's part of the Levitical law. Okay, so that's wicked. That's a transgression of the law against the so-called white man. He's 100 and 0 against the law. Showing you he's a fugitive and he's a vagabond, man. He's a fugitive. He's running away from this, from the book. Deuteronomy 24, verse 14. Thou shalt not oppress a hired servant that is poor and needy. At his day thou shalt give him his hire. So you're supposed to give him his money at that time, man. At the end of the day. We're going back to that. You ain't got to worry about shit like this. Government shut down and you still going to work. That's wicked. That's wickedness, man. So who's doing that? That's ESAU. Okay? That's the one that's doing that. He said he's supposed to be, this was a Christian nation and all that. Nothing Christian about what he's doing. All right? But your church ain't breaking down these, they're not going into the law. They think the Old Testament's done away with. So what was Paul going off of? What was Yahushua talking about? What laws was he fulfilling? Fool. Which is of you kept back by fraud. It's kept back by fraud, withheld deceitfully. The Greek word apestoro means to deprive, defraud, or keep back unjustly. That's what he's doing. He's keeping back. And not only that, he's taking your money and reallocating it in areas like military and ICE agents, giving them $50,000 incentive to join him. You want Medicaid and all that? Don't get rid of these so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. Which he's going to use to come around and take away your constitutional rights. He's already calling what you did yesterday or Saturday or whatever y'all went out there as hate speech. Speaker of the House, Jonathan something, the glasses, he called it hate speech. But when you read the First Amendment, everything you did was covered under the First Amendment. So it doesn't care what he says, what he deems as hate speech. You're free to say that, but according to your Constitution, you have the right to be critical against your government. That's your right. But as you can see, he's going to make it harder for you to express that right. All right? That's why he's trying to go digital. So we can have a social credit score for you based on how you feel towards him, like in China. Like in the land of Moab. Actually, that's not the land of Moab. Like in China, I would say. Okay? And by the way, China is persecuting underground churches over there. I wonder what these underground churches are talking about. Because if they're underground, that means they're not mainstream churches. Okay? They're not worshiping in the same form and fashion as the mainstream churches. They're probably listening to us. They're probably recognizing bear witness with our spirit, with the spirit of the Lord, that they are Israel too, and they're being persecuted over there in China. Okay? So the word's going out, man. Anyways, the rich are being accused of cheating the poor, holding back their pay, using exploitation to grow rich. Jeremiah 2 verse 13, woe unto him that buildeth his house by unrighteousness, and his chambers by wrong, that useth his neighbor's service without wages, and giveth him not for his work. And that's what Jeremiah 22 and 13, and that's what Esau is doing. He built this all off of unrighteousness. He didn't pay you, these so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, most of the Negroes that he put in slavery. That's why you're still begging for reparation. This is what he did with your money. So this is what he does. That's what his power is built on. Okay? So you understand. Crying, it says, the withheld wages are said to cry out to God. No, the withheld wages are said to, no, it's the people whose wages are withheld. A symbolic way of saying the injustice reaches the heavens. No, that's not what that means. He's saying the wages are crying out to heaven. So Esau doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. He's not always right. The AI. That don't even make any damn sense. Ecclesiasticus, I don't even want to fight with it because it'll take forever. Ecclesiasticus 4:1. My son, defraud not the poor of his living, and make not the needy eyes to wait long. Make not a hungry soul sorrowful, neither provoke a man in his distress. Add not more trouble to a heart that is vexed, and defer not to give him that is in need. Reject not the supplication of the afflicted, neither turn away the face from a poor man. Turn not away thine eye from the needy, and give him none occasion to curse thee. For if he curse thee in the bitterness of his soul, his prayer shall be heard of him that made him. Okay, so that's the poor, man. The one you're not paying, the one who can't provide, he still got to use his own resources to get to work. Okay, in this fucked up society. Genesis 4:10, the voice of thy brother's blood cries unto me from the ground. Okay, that's the precept he's giving me. Exodus 3:7, I have surely seen the affliction of my people and have heard their cry. Okay, so he's hearing his people's cries. The Lord is. Okay, your soul is speaking on your behalf, man. That's what this hell is for. And he's enlarging his desire of hell. He put more hell upon the people through his unrighteous decrees. Okay? This means God hears the cries of the oppressed and will bring judgment upon those who enrich themselves through oppression and fraud. And that judgment is coming. That judgment is coming, man. Malachi 3:5, and I will come near to you the judgment, and I will be a swift witness against those that oppress the hireling in his wages. So there you go. So James 5:4 condemns the unjust rich who exploit the poor laborers, withhold rightful wages, grow wealthy through oppression, and think God does not see them. And he sees everything. He sees it all. Ecclesiastes 23:19, outside at 15. The man that is accustomed to appropriate words will never be reformed all the days of his life. Nah, actually, it's blocking. Let me get that down. Ecclesiastes 23:19. Such a man only feareth the eyes of men, and knoweth not that the eyes of the Lord are 10,000 times brighter than the sun, beholding all the ways of men, and considering the most secret parts. So you understand how you're doing it economically. Making the price of beef go through the roof, so you can enrich yourself. He's not calling it a tax, it's called hyperinflation. He controls that. He's putting tariffs on different countries that affect you. He's getting his money off the top. By the time it gets to you, the tariff, you paying it. Okay? So everyone's getting rich off of that. So here it is. I make, The Chinese give me something, I put 100% tax on it. Okay? Now, I can enrich myself too. The duck is getting paid off of that. And you paying it. You're the one that's paying it at the end of it. So you're making the rich more wealthy. But he's not calling it a tax. So now y'all are, oh, it's okay. Okay, because you don't understand. All right? Let me grab this. See that skill of a man? I think it's Exodus, Exodus 21, verse 16. That he that stealeth a man and selleth him, or if he be found in his hand, he shall surely be put to death. And so that's why he's going to get put to death. Because he stole us. That's the only reason why we're here. He's going to get put to death for it. All right? Esau? Oh yeah, Revelation 20. Revelation 20:1, and I saw an angel from heaven having the key of the bottomless pit and a great chain in his hand. That great chain is a representation of slavery. He has the power, that key. He has the key for who he wants in slavery, for who he wants in captivity. It tells you in Isaiah the 47th chapter that he gave you his inheritance, which are his people. Okay? The Lord gave us over to this devil. Isaiah 47:6. I was wroth with my people, I have polluted mine inheritance. It's like in giving them into thine hand. Thou didst show them no mercy. Upon the ancient hast thou verily heavily laid thy yoke. So he gave us over to him. Okay, and he gave all power and authority to Yahweh Shah. All right, so he has the power over captivity, over hell and death. He has the power over all these things. Revelation 20:2, and he laid hold on the dragon. The dragon represents Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, in this power structure. That old serpent, the old serpent in the garden that beguiled Eve, is the nigga that I'm talking about. That's Esau, which is the devil. Okay, that's why we call him the devil. He's a deceiver. That's what devil means. He deceives you into believing he's God. He's not. And Satan. Satan means the adversary. The adversary is that person, the spiritual counterpart of the, how do you say? He's the physical manifestation of the spiritual demon Satan. That's exactly what he is. Down here on the earth. He don't represent righteousness. And bound him 1,000 years. That's going back to the Byzantine Empire that fell in 1453. It really started in 96 AD with Nerva, all the way to the fall of the Byzantine Empire. That's when we were ruling over these people, over Esau, in the Roman Empire. Okay, the Eastern Roman Empire. When the Western Roman Empire fell. Okay? He ain't gonna tell you that. He don't want you to know that. He wants you to think that he always ruled, he was always in power, and that's just how things have always been. That's not the case. Even going back to 2 Samuel, the 8th chapter, David had garrisons in Edom and made him his servant. But he was in slavery before. He don't talk about that. Okay? To the Israelites. He hates the Jews. That's why he's talking about building an Ark of Titus at the bottom of the White House. During the Jewish revolt, or the Jewish revolt, the Israelite revolt. No such thing as Jews. Such thing as Jewish fables. Okay? Revelation chapter 20, verse 3. And cast him into the bottomless pit and shut him up and set a seal upon him that he should deceive the nations no more till 1,000 years should be fulfilled. And after that he must be loosed a little season. And he was loosed a little season during the Renaissance period. Okay, we're still pretty much in the Renaissance era. The rebirth of the Roman Empire. Okay, that's what this is the little season that he's been loose to deceive the world. Okay. And I saw thrones, and they that sat upon them, and judgment was given unto them. And I saw the souls of them that were beheaded for the witness of Yahushua, and for the word of God, in which had not worshipped the beast, neither his image, neither had received his mark upon their foreheads or in their hands. And they lived and reigned with the Mashiach 1,000 years. So those that were beheaded for the witness of Yahushua, which is his testimony. Okay? Showing you that those draconian laws are coming back, how important this word actually is. Okay? And he saw the souls of them crying. So all that righteous blood that he owed. But I'm going to end it right there. Lord's will, this was edifying. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushua, Bahashem, and Chakodah. Shalom, Abad Babal, Kwam Yasharala.